Hey everybody, welcome back to Creating Haley. I am Kimberly at Creating Haley, and I apologize for the glowing orb behind me. It's my ring light. So, just to try to give us more light because it is 11 p.m. again. I'm always recording at 11 p.m. Anyway, I'm doing like an add-on, a bonus video to this project because in the previous video we finished doing these tops. So we put the fabric onto, we sewed the fabric onto a foundation, and in the foundation that I used is dryer sheets. Where are they? Dryer sheets. So I just used 5-inch square dryer sheets that I cut specifically. So I had four big enough dryer sheets that I cut a perfect square. And then I showed you in that previous video how I attached these strips onto the foundation. So I did that 4 times. I did these off camera. I did one on camera with you and one and the rest off camera. So these are done, and then I squared them all up, and I showed you how to square them up on camera, and then I squared up the rest off camera. Okay, so these are done now. And then I was going to add a batting, and then the batting I cut is 4.5 inches because I accommodated a 1/4 inch seam allowance on both, on all the way around. I don't know what is flying around here, fuzz or something. And then I cut 4.5 inch batting squares. Now the batting that I'm using, one side has glue, so it's a fusible. So because this already has a foundation, the backing, it does not have a foundation. So I'm going to attach the glue side to the backing that does not have the foundation. Now I could do it the other way around, I guess. I don't know. What do you guys think? What should I do? But I had an idea because, and so this is like the little added bonus video. I wasn't going to originally do this, but see all these extra strips that I have? Now what I did with the sunflowers is I took this strip right here. So I took this strip and then I just cut out the sunflowers 2 inches. So I just cut 2-inch sunflowers. So I just fussy cut them, basically, is what I did. So I cut. Now the strips that I cut previously are only 1.5 inches. So they're 1.5 inches this way, but I cut the sunflower, kind of fussy cut them out. So I didn't want to do 1.5 inches on the sunflower because they would all be sliced. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to maintain as much of the sunflower as I can, because when we add a border around here or when we go around with extra fabric, we're going to lose quite a bit of that. So yeah, so that's why I did that. Now I'm just going to set these aside. I had the idea to make like a quasi log cabin with these. So I have all these extra strips. So we're going to do this right now. So we're going to see if this little experiment works. So what I'm going to do is do one on camera with you, and then we'll see if it works, right? So I want to start with a green. So I'm just going to take a green strip, and then we're going to shift the camera down here. Okay. So take it over to the sewing surface. Now, I don't have anything pre-cut. Normally in a log cabin we have things pre-cut, but I'm just gonna wing it, and we're just gonna see if this works. So it's a little experiment right now. So I'm taking this strip, and so in the log cabin you want to make sure that so here's my center block, that your first block or your first strip covers that block. So actually what I'm going to do is kind of like chain piece it a little bit like you would do. Actually, you know what? I am going to do that before I make that cut. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all these 4 pieces and I'm just going to sew them on here. Just like I would, actually, let's see, let's do it this way so it makes more sense. So I'm just going to take this piece and right sides together, line up this edge. So just like we would in a scrappy quilt or a, yeah. So there's a bunch of different ways that we can do a scrappy quilt block. So, and then I'm just going to place the next one down right next to that one. And I am using an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, just like I did on the top, because these are really close. Like, yeah, they're really close. So I want to maintain as much of the sunflower as I can. So I'm just doing an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. And also, if I do a 1/4 inch, I will lose a lot in the block, but that's okay. It's not the end of the world, but I just want to maintain more of the sunflower if I can, because that's pretty much probably the only sunflower fabric I will use is right here. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But as we look at this, now that this is sewn, it's like little flags, we can cut in the center. Now you can use your rotary cutter if you want, or just scissor them apart. Like so. All right. So now when I open these up, now we have our first unit. See how that works? Yay! So you can see if I used a 1/4 inch seam allowance, I would really be gouging into my sunflower. So I'm glad I did not do that. But I am going to iron it down because, you know, if you've been watching along with me at all, you know I like to work with a flat fabric surface. So I try to press. Okay, now I'm just going to set these aside because we don't need to work with these right now. These are 3 extra beginnings of new blocks. So I'm not sure what to do yet. If I want to do the yellow onto the green next, and then blue, and then, so this would be yellow, this would be blue, this would be green, and then yellow, blue, green. I guess it's always going to touch at some point. So let's just do this. Actually, you know what? Now that I've chain pieced the other ones, let's just do that too, just to see if it actually works and how quickly this comes together. So it won't work for, well, maybe it'll work for all the pieces, but I was just thinking that some of my strips aren't going to be long enough, but we'll see. We'll see how it comes together. It's an experiment, guys. Let's see how this goes. Okay. So now that I've ironed these open, let's figure out, I guess the green is always going to go on the top. So for my project, the green, I'll just always put the green at the top and then the yellow on the side. So I will do this. Actually, it should go the other way. So because this has an overhang, I'm going to sew it like this, but you really should not. You should do it the way that I did the first time. Okay, now green at the top. Reminds me of that Irish song, Green Alligators. And long-necked geese, humpty-back camels, and chimpanzees. Yep. Okay. Now I can only fit 3 units on this yellow strip. So when I open it, you'll see what it looks like. So there's the flags. And then when I open it, see how that works? Okay, so I'm going to trim again these apart. Okay, now this is not long enough to put this on here, so I'm going to have to find another one. So we'll just set that aside for now. But this is what I'm going to be working on. So this is an overhang. I'm going to trim that off. And you know what? These little trimmings, this little scrap piece, this little garbage right here, I can't even pick it up, that is going on a piece like this. So I save these teeny tiny little scrap pieces and then I make new fabric out of them. So there's a playlist of that. Go ahead and check out my playlist for those. I will probably do one, attach a video of this fabric on, at some point I will do a video using this fabric from this project to make those extra fabric. Now I do them in 4x6s. Okay, if that makes any sense to you at all. So here we go. Now we're building our log cabin, our quasi log cabin. It's not really going to be a true log cabin. We're just going round and round with our fabric. All right, now here's a blue. And so remember, the green was on top, that I put the green on top of the sunflower. So we're going to work in a clockwise direction. So I put the yellow on. Now the blue comes on here at the bottom. And so I do not have enough of this strip to add two. So I'm only going to do one. And again, I'm using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm sorry, not a 1/4 inch, an 1/8 inch seam allowance, which I'm actually using almost a little bit less than an 1/8 inch. But now we're coming together, guys. So I think this is gonna work out pretty nicely. Okay, so I want to trim this piece off right here, and I'm gonna use a rotary cutter. I'm just gonna take this to my cutting surface right here, and I'm going to keep it as square as possible. Use my rotary cutter, and there we go. Now, because I kind of made that seam a little wonky, I'm ironing it in the right direction that I want it to go in, so that it stays flat and in place. Okay. And if you need a little steam, go ahead and add some steam. That helps to relax the fibers in the fabric so that you get a crisper press. A crisper press. Okay, now here's what we have so far. Nice. So remember, the green was on the top. So now I want to add, let's see, we started with the green, went to yellow, blue. Now we have to add a piece over here, and it's going to be green because that's all I have, unless I can find something else really quickly, like this yellow maybe? Now it has to be the same for all of them. Now I only have 4 of these, so I think it's just going to be a one-time gig, a one-time thing. All right, yeah, we're going to add that just for giggles. Okay. Just for giggles, because again, like I said, I only have 4 of these strips sitting right here next to me. So, let me think about that. So then what would be next? Yellow. It doesn't really matter. They're all going to touch eventually. Now, if I put the green, oh, it's green. Green goes here. And then the yellow, and then the blue. Yeah, it's just all going to be, it's all going to be that way. So let me grab the green. Now, here is width of fabric. So this is a long piece. This should cover it. And then the same with this blue. This blue is also width of fabric. And that's going to be plenty as well. I don't know. Let's just throw this yellow one in because it's going to fit on all of them. So let's just do that. All right. Again, this is an experiment, so we're doing this in real time together, folks. Okay, here we go. There. Can you guys see that? Okay. And then, this is a different quality fabric. This is a little less, this is very thin fabric. But, yeah, there we go. Okay. That works, I think. And then, so we did green, yellow, blue. This one's yellow, so I'm just going to add green. And then, oh, no, I didn't want to do that. That's a good thing we did that experiment. I don't really want to do that because then that makes this always the same. Check that out. Yeah, see? And that actually that is a log cabin. Now that I look at it, that is kind of how a log cabin goes. But I don't think I want to do that. So I'm going to set this aside because I'm not going to rip out thread just yet. I'm just going to pick up another one of these. And so let's add the blue to here. So we have the green on top, remember, yellow, and now blue. So I'm going to place this on here. And I'm just going to do one. Okay. All right. Open that. Okay. Now I want to trim this on here. You guys can barely see that. There we go. Okay. Not that you can see it from quite the distance. My head's probably in the way, but there we go. So I just wanted to trim that off. Okay, green's at the top, yellow, blue, and now we add another green. So we go around, and here's a green here. I'm going to add this. And again, the seams on the bottom, you want to make sure they all go in the proper direction and they don't accidentally flip. And then, okay, there. And now yellow at the top. So I'm going to trim this. Now, when you do a log cabin, you don't have to do all this extra trim in your project as you go along because you have pre-cut all the strips. So you don't have to add that extra cut in there. All right. Now this. And then blue is next. Okay, I'm going to make this stitching a little bit better because it's a bit wonky. There we go. Okay, now open this up. Okay, now we add our blue. So, here we go, right? Yellow, blue, right here. Blue. And this is the piece, this is another flawed piece. So I'm going to come to this end, and this is the salvage. So I'm going to make sure that I do not get on the salvage. Okay, make sure the back is sewed down. That's on pretty secure. And then I trim. I gotta trim both sides because the one side was a salvage edge, or is a salvage edge. So I want to make sure that I trim that salvage edge off. Try to keep it as square as possible. Now, I can already tell that my block is getting a little bit wonky, and I think it was because of, well, a couple of these stitches. Maybe this side, and then this side. So, yeah. Okay, now green at the top again. So this is how I started, clockwise. Green, yellow, blue, green, yellow, blue, green down here at the bottom. I'll grab this strip. Now I know we're getting close to our 5 inches, so let's measure this to see where we are. We actually are at 5 inches. So this is not quite 5 inches. It got a little wonky, so I'm going to add another green. But this is definitely 5 inches, so I do not need to add any more to the side. So I'm just going to add this last green to the bottom, and that is going to be it. And then we're going to trim that up. I'm actually going to trim that off right there. Okay, here we go. Nice. So, I think that's turning out pretty well. Let's take it over to the trim board again. So, I'm going to trim it all up to 5 inches. I definitely want this to be 5 inches. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I know you can't really see that. Let's bring you guys over here. All right, here we go. So, okay, this is kind of in the middle. So our 5 inches. So I have a 6-inch Omni Grid. Again, I'm not sponsored by the company. It's just the tool that I have. And if I measure the outside of this, it is 6 inches across by 5.5 inches this way. So I definitely have the 5 by 5 covered. So that means I can trim up these wonky edges a little bit. I can trim off the excess there. I can trim off the excess. So we're good. And then the sunflower was preserved in the center. So I was doing green on top, going around this way. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's measure. Let's see. This is 1 inch this way, and then this will be 1 inch this way. And I think that works absolutely perfectly. And that'll be 5 inches. Okay, so I'm going to trim this edge right here, like so. And now remember, this part I use, and it goes in my little stash pile right here. And we're going to make extra fabric with that. Okay, so there's that. Now, I'm just going to trim this part. Oops, I moved it a little bit. This is already a 1/2 inch right here that I can trim off. So I'm going to trim off this part too. And then that should make 5 inches. All right, now I know this edge is trimmed and this edge is trimmed. So I'm going to turn this around. And remember how I measured it before. You want to take your finished measurement and put that finished measurement on your trimmed edges, your freshly trimmed edges. So you know that is squared up, and then the rest of it is gravy. So once you get your measurements here and everything aligned, then you just place this down pretty strong. Trim and trim. And there we go. There's our new block. What do you think about that? Now you could keep going all the way around it. You could put it on point like this. Now I think I did the green at the top. Here's the green. So I did the green at the top. I don't know if I actually like that or not. Maybe, I don't know. It's a coaster, so it doesn't really even matter, right? So let's see. Where's the front? Where did I put the front? I just set those aside, and now I set them in a place. Probably landed on the floor. Oh, here they are. Okay. So, whoops. Here is the front, and here is the back. Yeah, so it doesn't really matter. When you put these together, flip them over, it doesn't matter which way they go. It actually doesn't really matter which way they go. So, when you put your batting in between, so because I have a lot of seams here, I'm going to put my glue side against this part because this is already has a foundation. So that is my thinking behind it, okay? And then so because this is glue, glue that down and make sure that you have a 1/4 inch, I should do it this way, a 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way around because that is the part that you're going to use. So this isn't going to, so your batting, what I'm trying to say is your batting will not get caught up in the flip around when you turn these inside out. You won't have that extra bulk in the seam, I guess, is what it's called. Okay, so make sure when you glue this down, this is all perfect. I didn't do this perfect, but what you're going to do, now this is attached. These two are fixed together. And then you place these two right sides together. Make sure that is all perfect. Perfectly lined up, perfectly lined up. And then you stitch 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way around, except for maybe 2 inches or so right here. So you want to come around the corner and end, leave this part open, and then come around the corner and then back stitch and back stitch. So that could be another video how I show you how to do that because this one's getting a little bit long. Okay, and then in that little section, you're going to reach in and turn this inside out, and then you have your finished coasters. Poke them out, right? Well, they're not exactly finished yet. Poke out the corners, fold that other edge under, and then sew all around the edge a 1/4 inch or really, really close. And I'll do another video so you guys can see that, okay? But that is it for right now. What do you think about that experiment? I think this is going to work. I think the client is going to like it. Do you like it? Let me know. All right, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.